Welcome to ForexTV.com. It's Thursday, April 10th. I'm Remy Hookie for your New York Forex Market Buzz. In afternoon trade as of 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Euro dollar is at 1.0747. Sterling dollar is trading around 1.9737, while dollar yen is at 1.0179. Earlier today, the Bank of England reduced its key interest rate by 25 basis points to 5%. Meanwhile, the ECB held rates steady at 4%. The euro hit a new record high against the U.S. dollar above the 159.10 level before the ECB rate announcement. Eurodollar has pulled back post-rate announcement also in early morning trade. The U.S. Commerce Department reported that the trade deficit climbed 5.7% in February to $60.3 billion. This afternoon, I'm joined by Nick Bennenbroek, Head of Currency Strategy at Wells Fargo. Good afternoon, Nick.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, now that we have both the BOE as well as the ECB rate announcements behind us, we've been seeing quite wild swings in the dollar majors. So let's start out by taking a look at the UK pound. Sterling did hit a session high of 1.9842 against the US currency, but given that the UK is in the same position as the US in terms of fundamentals, it's not surprising to see the euro hitting records against both the US dollar and pound. So going forward, what's your forecast for the sterling?
I think we're probably going to see the British pound remain on a weaker trend. Certainly there are echoes in terms of the financial market difficulties in the UK, similar to those that we are getting here in the United States, for example, and I think we're going to see quite a lot more easing from the Bank of England in the coming months, perhaps close to even a full percentage point or 100 basis points through the rest of this year and into early 2009. So, I suspect that we're going to see the pound sort of move down towards the low 190s, if not late this year, then at least early 2009.
Well, Nick, the U.S. dollar has regained strength against the euro from the early morning session, but given Trichet's commentary and overall fundamental concerns, what's your outlook for the euro dollar as well as the euro yen?
Probably still see the euro on the upwards path, very slightly against the US dollar and most probably against the yen as well. I think what we saw today was probably some selling on the fact after Mr. Trichet's comments, and also the fact that the European Central Bank kept that refi rate steady at 4%. He did mention that he said he deplored foreign exchange volatility, and so that might be some of the weakness that we got today. But overall, they're still much more concerned about inflation in Europe. No sign that there's going to be any kind of rate cuts there. So I think we'll probably see the euro get close to $1.60 against the US dollar and see some gains against the yen as well.
Okay. Well, moving on, in afternoon trade, U.S. equities are in positive territory, managing to hold on to gains. And commodity prices have also weakened after crude oil and gold rallied in the previous session. So given that Aussie dollar has continued to strengthen, with Aussie yen above 98.40, what levels are you watching for the Aussie against the U.S. dollar as well as the Japanese yen?
I think the interesting thing about the Australian dynamics and the Australian currency is the Reserve Bank of Australia definitely does appear to be on hold for now. We saw, for example, some employment figures out overnight that were not quite as strong as they had been, just a job gain of 15,000 for the month of March. But some softening of the economy in Australia, but certainly no recession or no significant downturn. I think we can get towards 95 to 96 against the US dollar and just above the 100 mark as far as the Australia dollar is concerned against the yen.
Okay, well, now that we've covered the yen, let's take a quick look at the Swiss franc. Given today's price action for the pair, with dollar Swissy managing to stay above 1.70 from 1.9890 earlier today, what ranges do you see for the pair? And do you see dollar Swiss forming a bottom?
Probably is in the process of forming the bottom. We could get close to parity again, and maybe slightly below as we saw at times today. But certainly, I think there are signs that leading indicators in Switzerland are definitely on a declining path. And over time, I know we have very volatile market conditions right now. One would hope that some of that volatility would at least disappear. So I think the growth outlook and hopefully a better outlook for financial markets, we'll see the dollar make gains against the Swiss franc, perhaps up towards the 105 level.
Okay, and last but not least, before we wrap it up for today's interview, we do have the G7 meeting coming up, and also we do have here in the U.S. tomorrow morning the University of Michigan's preliminary consumer confidence survey. So what do you expect to see heading into the weekend?
I think that we'll actually, maybe there'll be a little bit of nervousness because of the G7. However, I think that strong comments from the Europeans are unlikely given their focus still on inflation. I don't think we'll see anything from the US regards currencies of any particular significance, and that leaves Japan on their own in terms of wanting to make any substantial intervention or comments on the currencies. So I really think that the G7 may be a little bit of a fizzer as far as concrete comments that come out of it. I think we'll probably see the euro edge higher against the dollar. I believe that's where the fundamentals still suggest it should go, but that should be cautious and gradual, at least until we get the communique and the various comments out of the way from that G7 meeting.
Okay, Nick, thank you very much for insight and analysis this afternoon.
Thank you.
This has been your Forex Market Buzz with Nick Bennenbroek, Head of Currency Strategy at Wells Fargo. I'm Remy Hookey. Join us later this afternoon for PM Exchange right here on ForexTV.com.
Thank you.